Talo Falava everyone, my name is Tile Valu, and this presentation outlines the full valuation process and results for the industrial property at 329 Westfield Place, Mount Wellington. The valuation was prepared for Future Bank Limited to determine the current market value and for first mortgage security as at 1st of July 2025. I'll explain the methods used, such as the rental and sales comparison, the direct capitalization approach, and the discounted cash flow module, and how these results were interpreted to reduce a reliable adopted market value that reflects both short-term income potential and long-term investment sustainability. The subject property is a modern industrial warehouse office complex constructed in 1996. It includes 5,446 square meters of warehouse, 1,117 square meters of office space, and 1,156 square meters of canopy area. The building provides a 9.6-meter stud height, 3 roller doors, and a full sprinkler system. The site is zoned business light industry and is strategically located near State Highway 1, Auckland Airport, and the key logistics hubs. Overall, this property is typical of high-quality investment stock within the Mount Wellington Industrial Precinct, offering both scale and functionality for long-term occupancy. For slide 3, purpose and basis of valuation. The valuation was undertaken to assess the current market value of the subject property for first mortgage security purposes on behalf of Future Bank Limited. The effective date of valuation is 1st of July 2025. The basis of value adopted is market value and is defined under IVS 104, assuming a willing buyer and seller in an open and competitive market. The valuation reflects the freehold interest on the land and improvements and assumes the property is leased under normal market conditions with no restrictions on title that will materially affect the value. Well, for the valuation methodology, this valuation followed the International Valuation Standard 105 framework, which emphasizes market evidence. The methods applied include the rental comparison and sales comparison analysis to establish benchmark rents and yields. From these, the direct capitalization approach was adopted as the primary method to assess the property's stabilized income stream. The discounted cash flow approach was used as a secondary cross-check, projecting income and expenditure over a 10-year period. Together, these methods ensure the valuation captures both short-term market conditions and the property's long-term investment performance. To determine market rent, 5 comparable industrial leases were analyzed from Mount Wellington, Highbrook, East Tamaki, and Wiri. Adjustments were made for factors such as building quality, access, location, and stud height. The adjusted range between approximately $108 to $240 per square meter. After weighing the comparables, Bell Avenue was considered most similar at 40% weighting. The adopted market rent for the subject property was $1,176,661 per annum, representing a fair reflection of current rental market levels. The sales comparison analysis examined 5 recent industrial sales across Mount Wellington, Wiri, Highbrook, and East Tamaki. Adjusted sale rates range between approximately $1,582 and $2,482 per square meter, reflecting variations in property quality, location, and access. The yields across these comparables range from about 4.95% to 8.34%, capturing both prime and secondary assets in the industrial market. The weighted average yield derived from these sales was 6.06%, and the corresponding weighted internal rate of return was 7.59%. Based on this analysis and the subject property's characteristics, a market yield of 5.15% was adopted for the direct capitalization approach. The direct capitalization approach capitalized the adopted market rent of $1.71 million per annum at a yield of 5.5%. The result was a basic capitalized value of $20.59 million. A rental surplus of $220,000 per annum was added, giving a present value of $1.8 million. Capital expenditure totaling $194,000 was deducted, representing recurring and non-recurring maintenance. The indicated market value was $22.59 million, rounded with an initial yield of 5.56%. The direct capitalization result of $22.59 million indicates a strong stabilized income stream for the subject property. The rental surplus contributed positively to the value, while future capital expenditure reduced it slightly. The initial yield of 5.56% is marginally below the adopted market yield of 5.71%, suggesting that the current rent is slightly above market, generating stronger short-term returns. Overall, the DCA aligns well with the comparable market evidence across Mount Wellington and Highbrook, confirming consistency with current industrial investment performances. The discounted cash flow model projected income and expenditure over a 10-year period from 2025 to 2035. The analysis included recurring capital expenditure of $8,650 annually and a non-recurring capital expenditure of $111,700 derived from 1,117 square meters of office area, multiplied by $100 per square meter. Applying a discount rate of 7.86% and a terminal yield of 7.5%. The DCF produced a net present value of $20.2 million and an internal rate of return of 6.74%. The DCF result shows that the net present value of $20.2 million is slightly lower than both the DCA value of $22.59 million and the sales price benchmark, reflecting a more conservative assessment when discounting and future capital costs are fully considered. The internal rate of return of 6.74% is lower than the weighted IRR of 7.95% derived from the sales analysis. This indicates that the property's projected long-term return is slightly below the market benchmark, influenced by capex allowances and conservative rental growth assumptions. When comparing the two approaches, the DCA reflects a higher capital value consistent with current income levels, while the DCF offers a discounted long-term perspective, accounting for expenditure and time value of money. The lower NPV relative to the DCA confirms that the property's long-term performance is stable but not speculative. The IRR comparison also shows that the DCF 6.74% return is below the weighted sales IRR of 7.59%, reinforcing its conservative nature, balancing both 60% reliance was placed on DCA and the 40% on DCF, resulting in an adopted value of $21.6 million. To conclude and to reflect, both valuation approaches produce consistent and credible results. The direct capitalization approach, which represents current market income and investor sentiment, while the discounted cash flow approach verifies long-term value under realistic rental and expenditure assumptions. The final adopted market value of $21.6 million aligns with industrial yields between 5 and 7.5% observed in Mount Wellington and Wiri. This valuation process demonstrates sound analytical reasoning, adherence to IVS standards, and provides a strong foundation for Future Bank Limited to support first mortgage security decisions.